Hi everybody, you're watching White Mountains TV. I'm Chris Prue in the North Conway studio, and it is time for Summer Theater. I am joined by a few of the cast members at the Weathervane Theater in Whitefield, New Hampshire. I'm joined by Ira Kramer and Juliana Cimenti. Did I get those right?
Absolutely.
Give me a little overview of the Weathervane Theater. For someone who's never been there before, they drive through Whitefield, they pass lots of forests, possibly a moose or two, and then just before they get to the North Conway, the Mountain View Grand Hotel, there's this beautiful theater there. What's it like when you step inside?
Right, not to be confused with a barn.
Okay.
However, it's a theater. It's not a barn. It's a theater. No, it's.
But it looks like a barn.
It does, and it's beautiful. And I think it's just an incredibly charming cultural epicenter of the North Country.
Yeah.
And I think what a lot of folks don't necessarily realize when they come to the theater right off the bat is that we are an alternating repertory theater, which means we are simultaneously running multiple shows. So in any given week, you can usually see, 2 or sometimes 3 shows. So if you come to visit for a week, you can come to the theater every single night.
And you said it's the cultural epicenter of the North Country, but I think you really need to expand that to like the world, perhaps, because this is attracting great performers from around the country to come up and spend a summer in Whitefield. What are your bios? Where do you guys come from, and how long have you been part of the Weathervane?
Well, I'm from Queens, New York,
Okay.
so about 7 hours from here. It was quite the journey. This is my first summer at the
Wow.
Weathervane, but I've known Ethan Paulini, the artistic director, for I think it's been about 3 years now, because he has his own little community over in New York, and he's always talked about how magical and wonderful the Weathervane Theater was, and I've admired it from afar for so long, and now I'm so lucky to be here. I'm so excited.
Right. Well, Ethan's always said that New York is like the farm system for Whitefield, New Hampshire.
Right.
It's like, New York is Whitefield is Broadway and New York is off Broadway. He doesn't really say that, but
I believe it.
But
I've only been here 4 days. I believe it.
The level of talent that he's able to get up here, one would believe that. And how about you? What's your bio? How long have you been with the Weathervane?
Well, I've been with this is my 4th season now, and it's been kind of my first year was a bit more of a standard season, and then we were kind of navigating the pandemic and what that meant for streaming and how we kind of were able to continue producing theater through the entire thing. And now we're here kind of hopefully on the tails of that, and really excited to be producing a full-fledged season. I'm originally from London, Ontario, Canada.
Wow.
I met my wife in Southern California. She's originally from Maine. And then we met Ethan there. He was directing a show at another theater company that my wife and I are affiliated with. And we ended up moving to New York City, and now we're here. So yeah, it's really incredible kind of the diverse stories and people that come from all over the globe sometimes too. I mean, I'm not an American citizen, but I'm happy to live and work here. And I think that's something that's really exciting about the place is that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's people from all different walks of life telling diverse and interesting stories.
And it all converges in Whitefield, New Hampshire. We're talking with Ira Kramer, Juliana Cimenti of the Weathervane Theater in Whitefield. Let's get into the summer schedule. You do have some shows in June. It kicks off with a really big one, $1 Million Quartet, which I understand has a limited engagement. So tell us what this show's about.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's
Oh my gosh, you're not ready.
And the artists too that we've been able to bring in for this project is just like some of these guys have played this show 500, 600, 700 times and have really it almost feels like part of their DNA. But this particular show is about a famous recording session at Sun Records rather, with Sam Phillips. And in the recording session, you have Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, Johnny Cash, and Elvis Presley. I almost forgot who I'm playing. I know. It's like, who's the other
last one?
And Juliana is also in this piece.
The one female. I'm playing Diane, who is Elvis's lady.
Wow.
So,
This is exciting. I remember reading the description of this play. A Twist of Fate brings all of these, musical legends together. Like, how is this? How are they going to do this? How do you get, people to represent the greatest talent that ever existed? But you say you pull it off.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also, too, there's this fine line of, being a carbon copy or an impersonator versus finding sort of the inspiration of how these iconic people made that music, and then how can I myself kind of be the conduit for that by way of my own interpretation.
Right. And do you feel like that you can kind of empathize with this story because as an aspiring great performer, you're kind of walking in the footsteps, the shadow of the story of some of the greats that have ever graced the American stage?
Right. Well, walking in the footsteps might be a little bit generous, so thank you.
Well,
you should see his hips, though. He knows how to move them the way that he did.
I mean, but this is like the American and Canadian dream, right? Like to make it big on stage, and you find yourself with all these creatives in one room, and here you are jamming, and it's kind of like a metaphor for life in Whitefield at the theater.
Yeah. Well, I think what's really exciting about this piece is that it's kind of a little bit of a look behind the curtain, right? We're getting a really sort of intimate look at how these iconic people interacted with each other, and at the end of the day, they're just some friends who really, did have big hopes and big dreams and got some cool breaks, but you get to see a little bit more of authenticity of who these people were, not to the masses and not to the media, but a real sort of like human connection. But then you also get to have like some awesome music played by some pretty awesome musicians.
Opening July 1st, you guys have a show called Eurydice. Tell me a little bit about that.
So if you know the myth between Orpheus and Eurydice, do you know that at all?
Not, super well, but what you just told me is about the extent of it.
Yeah, basically about an old tale about how Orpheus and Eurydice, it's a love story, and how Orpheus has to save her from the underworld.
Okay.
And if you've heard of Hadestown, the musical on Broadway, it's also based off of that. But Eurydice actually came in the middle. It was created and written in 2003 by Sarah Rule, and it's actually a lot of our company's favorite, probably in their top 10 favorite plays.
Really?
So everybody, including the designers and the actors and the director, we're all just so excited to get started on this. And what's cool is that although it is a love story between these two very iconic characters who we've known about for hundreds of years, it's also based on a relationship between a father and a daughter. And Eurydice meets her father in the underworld, who unfortunately passes away at the beginning of the play. Not to give too much away, but my father is being played by Robert H. Fowler, who is a Broadway veteran and a favorite face of the Weathervane Theater. So being able to work with him is going to be, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, if you can't tell. But yeah, that's what Eurydice is about. And it's just such a beautiful, beautiful tale that you won't be able to see anywhere else.
Great.
For a
yeah,
while.
I think a lot of the again, just these design components are going to be something that you've probably never really seen on the Weathervane stage. We're also incorporating some almost film scoring. There's going to be a lot of sort of atmospheric sounds and some motifs that kind of help to lift that up. So it's like this contemporary interpretation of an old story that, which I guess we're doing with both North Country Shakes as well as this wonderful piece, Eurydice. So
well, this has come up a few times where you're also performing this summer, but you're also heavily involved in the sound design. So these are shows. These are something that are going to kind of tickle your funny bone and delight your fancy in other ways,
right?
As well, the full.
And there's something for everyone, right?
Yeah.
And then I think the goal really is something like $1 million quartet or a chorus line. If that can get your foot through the door, it's like, well, why can't you
Why
go
not see
see
the
something,
Eurydice?
or go see
Right.
Intimate Apparel, or go see some of these other things that you don't necessarily know, because we're doing our absolute best to honor these stories and flex our artistic muscles as much as we possibly can to continue to contribute to the theater in the North Country.
Yeah, that's exciting. All right, we have to get into the repertory theater in July and August, but if people want to see $1 Million Quartet, limited engagement, is it only in June?
The dates are June 8th to June 18th.
Okay.
And if folks want to get tickets, they can call the box office at 603-837-9322 or visit weathervanenh.org.
Rehearsal pays off, folks. We may have said that a couple of times before coming on. Okay, so that sounds like a fantastic show. Way to kick off the summer season. Let's get into the summer season itself. It's a repertory style theater. What does that even mean?
Kind of. It's
Quiz
kind of
time.
as if it's like a constant moving bus. Like little do you know, when you're seeing $1 Million Quartet at night, during the day, some of those performers are also rehearsing for the next show that you're going to see open a few weeks later. So right now I'm singing rock and roll by day, and then midway through the day I'm doing Shakespeare at night. And then once $1 Million Quartet opens, I'm going to be in tech for Shakespeare, and then I start rehearsal for Eurydice. So it's just a bunch of moving parts all at once, and it's going to be like that for the majority of our company members until October. But some of us are in different pieces of the puzzle, but together we make up the company.
I'm going to run down the shows for this summer. Eurydice, you mentioned. $1 Million Quartet, it opens the season in June. The Mawelous Wonderettes, what's that? I'm gonna have you guys give me a little synopsis of each show.
It's a really exciting jukebox sort of style musical that has lovable tunes that is going to get everybo's toe tapping. So come out and see that one.
Intimate Apparel.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, diverse story that is going to. I think that might be one of the ones that folks think that, oh, maybe I'm not going to connect with this one right away, but I would really encourage folks to come out and see that.
This one sounds intriguing. A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder.
Well, that one's super fun if you just love
Murder.
not just murder.
Yes.
Precisely.
But everybody talks with a fun accent and a lot of color, and it's just the epitome of a musical. That's what I think, in my opinion.
And this one is a class act, a musical about, I can't read the last word on it.
Well, so that's the story of Ed Kleeman,
Okay.
who was the composer for a chorus line.
Oh, wow.
So we're also doing a chorus line. So and then again, this piece is probably in some circles the lesser known of the two, because a chorus line had such a spectacle to it. But incredible music, a really interesting story that pairs beautifully with
A chorus
Chorus
line,
line.
which is part of your summer series. Also, Will Russell's Blood Brothers and Jesus Christ Superstar to round it out. So, quite the.
Well, we're in the
Yes.
presence of Jesus himself. That's why he's growing his hair out.
And then Blood Brothers, too. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I believe it was the third longest running show in the West End. So it's
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. But
The woman from
Not a lot of
Queens
people do it
learns
anymore.
something every day.
no.
Yeah,
But
which
we
is cool, but we are.
Yeah.
So come see it.
Just a little bit about the Shakespeare initiative that we've got going on. I know you
Yeah.
touched on it a
We
little.
missed that. That's not part of the repertory, but in June you have something called North Country Shakes, and
Yeah,
that
so-
sounds pretty intriguing.
Yeah, so basically what it is, it's a very short 45-minute show. We just got a bunch of different scenes from some of Shakespeare's classics, Midsummer Night's Dream, The Tempest, The Scottish Play. I hope you know what I'm talking about. We can't say the name in the here.
You can't.
But
No, that's like a.
it's a little superstition.
Yeah, superstition.
We're not in the theater, so I can say Macbeth, but no one's gonna be cursed over here. But yeah, so it's broken up into 5 very small acts, and in between each act we have little vignettes and movement pieces that the company has made up by sounds that Mr. Kramer here has designed very, very well. That I found that out in the car. I had no idea that he had done that, which is awesome. And yeah, the main goal for this is just to show that Shakespeare is, sure, it's heightened, beautiful language that we don't speak nowadays, but it's not intimidating, and it's for the people, it's for everybody, and there's a combination of casting. There's New Hampshire locals and a few people from the company, and it's just so playful. That's the main point of Shakespeare, is to just show that it's all play.
And fun.
And fun.
And I think, like, just to kind of piggyback on that a little bit, I think the initial objective of Shakespeare was creating these words, this text, these stories for the masses. But you know, as that tradition of Shakespeare's continued, it's become almost this sort of like high art that does not feel accessible.
It was pop culture back in his day.
Right. So how do we kind of bridge that gap and come back to, again, like you said, making it for the masses, which is in some ways more authentic to Shakespeare than doing it in another sort of style or another interpretation. So.
All right. Well, make sure you get out to the Weathervane at least once, but probably twice, 3 times this summer. See some of these great shows. We will have you take an encore right now. Can you give us the contact information for purchasing tickets and finding out more?
Absolutely. So call the box office at 603-837-9322, or you can visit us at weathervanenh.org.
And that is Ira Kramer, Julia Chimenti, both from the Weathervane Theater and from points all over the globe. Thank you for joining us.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Take your bow, and you are watching White Mountains TV.